a GIF or a PNG, it is going to be compressed so that the file size isn't as large. And now it's not going to take up as much space on your hard drive. You'll be able to download it faster. It won't take up as much bandwidth if you have it up on your website and people are downloading that from your website. Right? So compression is important, but if you compress the file too much, then it won't look nice in the case of an image. Right? You can over compress where it will save a lot of file size, but it's going to look all pixelated, or there'll be really weird color shifts in there. So you have to be careful with the amount of compression that you use. Now, there's two different types of compression. You have something called lossy and lossless.
Lossy and lossless.
Lossy and lossless.
I never heard of them.
Out of these three, lossy, you have Jpeg.
So lossy is Jpeg.
And then with the other ones, you have GIF and PNG. Lossy compression, data is thrown away, and you cannot get it back. So when you save an image as a JPEG, it is taking data, and it's just throwing it away in order to make that file size smaller. With lossless compression, it is making the file size smaller, but it's not throwing away any of the data. All right. Now, how is that possible? It's just done with trickery and math. Like if you're sitting back there and you take a picture of the front of the room, look at how much of that image is going to be the same. Like if you look at the screen here, this is all the same color. All right. So one way that you can make the file size smaller is that you don't identify every single pixel and what the color is. Instead, you say, like I'll just make up numbers, but pixel 1000 to 1800, all 800 of those pixels are the same color. So you just put in that color information once and say it's for the next 800 pixels, and now you just saved a lot of space in your file size. All right, so you don't have to throw away any data. So you can compress the file size and yet not lose any data.
That sounds good.
All right, lossy versus lossless. All right, so there's a lot up there. These are just some of the basics when it comes to images, and these are the three file types that you'll run into most often when you're using your devices. All right, so it's important to know those three. Remember which one can handle animation. Remember which two can handle transparency. Remember the colors, right? 8-bit versus 24-bit. And then, of course, remember what compression is, why compression is important, and be able to give an example of a lossy file versus a lossless file. Right, so those are some examples right there. Chances are you'll forget, all right, because we still have over a month before we take our final exam. So I linked out to this website where it talks about compression, lossy versus lossless. It talks about PNG files, GIF files, JPEG files. It reminds you about which one can be transparent. It'll remind you about the number of colors, and it also goes into animation. So if you read through this before you take the exam, it'll probably help you answer multiple questions on the final. This is one that I would definitely review before you take the final. You can get to that just by coming out here to this slide where it's talking about image files, and I linked it right there. It may also have a link. Yeah, it's right here too. And I put the word required. All right, so definitely read through that. It says required. That means that there's questions on the final coming from that document. Same thing here, infographic versus visualization. All right. Anything that says required, it will be helpful. Notice I don't put required on everything. You don't have to review everything, but there are certain ones that you want to review. It'll help you on the exam. All right. I'm trying to give hints there as to what might be on the exam. And then, of course, don't forget you have your review questions.